Captain Lee Taman stood at the main window of the mining station and watched the stars. The view never got old, even after 5 years running Kepler 442. The station floated in the darkness between two planets, pulling precious metals from floating, rocks that had been there for millions of years. His coffee cup was still warm when the alarm started ringing. "Captain, we have a problem," said Jin, the communications officer. His voice was tight with worry. "Unknown ship approaching fast, really fast." Taman put down his coffee and walked to the control center. The screens showed a ship that looked like nothing he had ever seen. It was black and sharp, with edges that seemed to cut through space itself. The design was aggressive, built for war. "Distance?" Taman asked. 200,000 kilometers and closing. They are moving at speeds that should not be possible." Taman felt his stomach drop. Ships that could move that fast belonged to only one species in known space, the Vorthak. Everyone knew about the Vorthak Empire. They were the nightmare that parents used to scare children. They conquered worlds, enslaved populations, and treated other species like cattle. Humans had been lucky so far. Earth was too far from Vorthak space for them to care about it. But that protection meant nothing out here on the edge of nowhere. "Are they responding to communications?" Taman asked. "Trying now, sir," Jin said. His hands moved over the controls. After a few seconds, static filled the air. Then came a voice that sounded like grinding metal. "Human vessel. This is Warlord Kethvar of the 3rd Hunting Fleet. We require immediate docking. Our ship is damaged." The translation software struggled with the alien words. Taman had heard Vorthak voices before in military briefings, but never talking directly. "To him, it made his skin crawl, sir," whispered Dr. Park Suman, the station scientist. "Regulations say we cannot allow hostile alien vessels to dock without proper authorization." Taman knew the rules. He had written some of them himself during his military days. But something in the alien voice sounded different. Not the usual Vorthak arrogance. This sounded like desperation. "Magnify their ship on screen," he ordered. The image zoomed in. The Vorthak vessel was indeed damaged. Burn marks covered its hull. Pieces of metal floated around it like debris. Whatever had happened to them, it had been violent. "Warlord Kethvar," Taman said into the communicator. "This is Captain Lee Taman of Mining Station Kepler 442. State your intentions." "We seek shelter, human, nothing more. My family requires medical attention." "Family?" Taman had never heard of Vorthak traveling with families. They were warriors, conquerors. They did not bring their children to battle. "Give me a moment," Taman said. He muted the communication and turned to his staff. There were 12 humans on the station. If this was a trick, they were all dead anyway. "Sir," said Engineer Kim, "their weapon systems appear to be offline. Life support is failing too." Dr. Suman checked her readings. "I am detecting 5 life signs on board. 3 large, 2 small. 2 small ones. Children, maybe." Taman made his decision. "Open docking bay 3, but keep our shields up and weapons ready." The Vorthak ship moved slowly toward the station. Up close, it looked even worse. Metal plates hung loose, and burn holes showed the damaged interior. This was not an invasion force. This was a family running for their lives. The docking process took 20 minutes. When the airlock finally opened, Taman waited with Dr. Suman and 2 security officers. They all wore full protective gear and carried weapons, though Taman doubted human guns would stop a Vorthak warrior. The airlock hissed open. The first Vorthak to emerge was massive, nearly 3 meters tall. His skin was dark gray with natural armor plating across his chest and arms. Scars covered his face and hands. This was clearly Warlord Kethvar. Behind him came a female Vorthak, smaller but still intimidating. Her movements were graceful but showed signs of injury. Then came the children. Taman had never seen young Vorthak before. They looked almost fragile compared to their parents. The oldest might have been equivalent to a 12-year-old human. The two younger ones stayed close together, clearly twins. "I am Kethvar," the warlord said. His voice was deep and rough. "This is my mate Silara and our offspring. We thank you for sanctuary." "What happened to your ship?" Dr. Suman asked. Kethvar's expression darkened. "Civil war has come to the Empire. My brother seeks the throne and views my bloodline as a threat. We fled, rather than see our children used as weapons in his games." The idea of Vorthak fighting each other was shocking. They had always presented a united front to the galaxy. "We can provide basic medical care and ship repairs," Taman said carefully, "but we cannot allow you to stay long." "Understood," Kethvar replied. "We ask only for time to plan our next move." That was when the second alarm started ringing. "Captain," Jin's voice came over the speakers, "3 more ships just dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They are Vorthak design and heading straight for us." Kethvar's face showed pure terror. "They followed us, my brother's forces." He turned to his mate. "Silara, prepare the ritual." "What ritual?" Taman asked, but the Vorthaks were already moving. The attacking ships opened fire without warning. The station shook as energy blasts hit the shields. Emergency lights started flashing red. "Shields at 60%, reported Engineer Kim. Kethvar grabbed Taman by the shoulders. "Human captain, you must listen. My children cannot fall into my brother's hands. He will twist them into monsters." Another blast shook the station. The lights flickered. "There is an ancient way," Silara said, her voice strained. "A guardian bond. It has not been used in thousands of years." "I do not understand," Taman said. Silara was already pulling her children close. They looked scared, but trusted their parents completely. "If we die," Kethvar said, "will you protect them?" Taman looked at the 3 young faces staring up at him. They were aliens, members of a species that had terrorized the galaxy, but they were also children, and they were afraid. "Yes," he said. Both adult Vorthak placed their hands on Taman's head. They began speaking in their own language, words that seemed to echo inside his skull. The children joined in, their smaller hands touching his arms. Power flowed between them. Taman felt something connecting in his mind, links forming that had never been there before. He could suddenly sense the emotions of the 5 Vorthak around him. Fear, love, hope, desperation. The attacking ships broke through the shields. The station's hull cracked in 3 places. "Go," Kethvar said, pushing his children toward Taman. "The bond is made. You are their guardian now." Silara kissed each child on the forehead. "Be strong. Remember what we taught you about honor." The airlock to their ship exploded inward. Smoke filled the docking bay. Through the chaos, Taman saw Vorthak soldiers in full battle armor charging in. Kethvar and Silara moved to block them. They fought with desperate courage, buying time for their children to escape. But they were wounded and outnumbered. Taman grabbed the 3 young Vorthak and pulled them toward the emergency exit. As they ran, he heard the final battle behind them. When the sound stopped, he knew the parents were dead. The oldest child, who had told him her name was Yuki, looked back once. Tears ran down her alien face. "They are gone," she said in broken human language. Taman felt their grief through the strange new bond in his mind. It hit him like a physical blow. These were not monsters. They were children who had just lost everything. "Yes," he said, "but you are not alone." The station was heavily damaged, but still functional. The attacking Vorthak ships had left after, confirming their targets were dead. They probably assumed the children had died too. Taman looked at his 3 new responsibilities. A human, caring for Vorthak children. It had never happened before in recorded history. He had no idea what he was doing. But he had made a promise to dying parents, and he intended to keep it. 3 days had passed since the attack, and Taman was beginning to understand that he had no idea how to raise alien children. The mining station's medical bay had become a temporary home for Yuki, Minho, and Jiwon. Dr. Sumin had set up beds that could support their different body structure. The twins, who appeared to be about 8 years old in human terms, stayed close together and spoke only in whispers. Yuki, the eldest, had not spoken at all since her parents died. Taman sat in the small observation room watching them through the window. The bond he now shared with the children let him feel their emotions like echoes in his mind. Grief, confusion, and fear mixed together in waves that made his chest tight. "They are not eating enough," Dr. Suman said, joining him at the window. She held a data pad with her research notes. "I have been studying Vorthak biology from the military databases. Their nutritional needs are different from humans." "What do they need?" Taman asked. "More protein, different minerals. I can adjust our food processors, but there is something else." She paused, looking worried. "Captain, the bond you share with them is not just emotional. It appears to be affecting their physical development." Taman turned to look at her. "What do you mean?" "Young Vorthak normally go through something called the hardening at puberty. It changes their brain chemistry, makes them more aggressive. But the scans show their neurological patterns are staying stable. The bond with you might be preventing the change." Through the window, Minho was trying to get his twin sister Jiwon to eat. She pushed the food away and curled up in a ball. Taman felt her sadness like a weight in his stomach. "Is that good or bad?" he asked. "I do not know. There is no research on this kind of interspecies bonding. You are all writing new science." Taman stood up. "I should talk to them." He entered the medical bay quietly. The twins looked up when he came in, but Yuki kept staring at the wall. Her feelings came through the bond as anger mixed with deep hurt. "Hello," Taman said in the simple Vorthak words he had been learning. "Are you hungry?" Minho nodded slightly. His sister Jiwon shook her head. Through the bond, Taman could feel that she was actually very hungry but did not want to admit weakness. "It is okay to be hungry," Taman said, switching back to human language that they were slowly learning. "Being sad does not mean you stop needing food." Jiwon looked at him with large eyes. Young Vorthak eyes were different from their parents', softer somehow. "Father said eating when warriors die is dishonor." "Your father also said I was your guardian now," Taman replied gently. "I say eating when you are sad is taking care of yourself. Your parents would want you healthy." Minho reached over and took his sister's hand. "Guardian is right," he said. "Mother told us to listen to him." Slowly, Jiwon sat up and accepted the food Taman offered her. Yuki finally turned from the wall. "You are not Vorthak," she said, her voice cold. "You do not understand honor." Taman felt her anger through the bond, but also the pain underneath. She was trying to be strong the only way she knew how. "You are right," he said. "I do not understand Vorthak honor, but I understand losing family. I lost my parents when I was not much older than you." This seemed to surprise her. "How?" "A ship accident. I was in military school far from home. I felt very alone." Yuki's anger softened slightly. "Did you have a guardian?" "My uncle took care of me. He was not my parent, but he tried his best." Taman sat down on the edge of her bed. "I am not your parent either, but I will try my best." For the first time since the attack, Yuki's expression showed something other than anger or grief. She looked curious. "What did your uncle teach you?" she asked. "That being strong does not mean being alone. That asking for help is not weakness. That family is not just who you are born to, but who chooses to care for you." Minho and Jiwon had stopped eating to listen. Through the bond, Taman felt their emotions shifting. Still sad, still confused, but with a small spark of hope. "Will you teach us human ways?" Jiwon asked quietly. "If you want to learn them. But I also want to learn about your ways, about what your parents taught you." Over the next few days, they began to build a routine. Taman would spend mornings working on station repairs, while the children studied human language with Dr. Suman. Afternoons were for sharing stories and customs from both species. He learned that Vorthak children were taught to be proud and fierce, but also that they valued loyalty and protection of family above everything else. They learned that humans valued cooperation and problem-solving, often working together rather than competing. Yuki gradually began to open up. She told him about her training in Vorthak combat techniques and strategy. She was incredibly smart, able to see patterns and solve puzzles faster than most adults. But she also began to show a gentler side when playing with the twins. Minho and Jiwon were fascinated by human technology. They could understand complex systems intuitively, often fixing broken equipment just by looking at it. Their natural curiosity was nothing like the aggressive Vorthak stereotype. "They are remarkable," Dr. Suman told Taman one evening after. The children had gone to sleep. "Their intelligence is developing in ways I have never seen. The bond with you seems to be enhancing their abilities while keeping them emotionally stable." "Is that why their uncle wanted them dead?" Taman asked. "Because they were different?" "Maybe. Or maybe because they represent something new, a different kind of Vorthak." That night, Taman was awakened by crying. He found Jiwon sitting up in bed, tears streaming down her face. "Bad dream?" he asked. She nodded. "Uncle was hurting Minho. I could not stop him." Through the bond, he felt her terror. He also felt Minho and Yuki waking up, sensing their sister's distress. "It was just a dream," Taman said, sitting beside her. "Your uncle cannot hurt any of you here." "Promise," she whispered. "I promise." Yuki got up and climbed into bed with her siblings. Minho wrapped his arms around both his sisters. They looked so young, so vulnerable. "Guardian," Yuki said softly, "will you stay until we sleep?" Taman settled into a chair beside their bed. Of course. As they drifted off to sleep, he felt their emotions calming through the bond. For the first time since their parents died, they felt safe. But safety was fragile in deep space. 2 weeks later, Jin burst into Taman's quarters with urgent news. "Captain, we have a problem. 3 human ships just appeared on sensors. Military vessels. They are requesting permission to board." Taman felt his blood turn cold. Through the bond, he sensed the children waking up in the medical bay, their peaceful sleep disturbed by his sudden fear. "What do they want?" he asked, though he suspected he already knew. "They say they are here to collect the alien subjects for transport to Earth Defense Command." The children appeared in his doorway, having sensed his distress. Yuki stepped forward, her young face showing the same fierce protectiveness he had seen in her mother. "They want to take us away," she said. It was not a question. Taman looked at the 3 faces, trusting him to protect them. He had promised their dying parents that he would keep them safe. He had promised Jiwon that no one would hurt them. "Yes," he said, "but we are not going to let that happen." Through the bond, he felt their fear transform into determination. They might be children, but they were Vorthak children, and they had learned that family meant fighting for each other. The real test of their unlikely family was about to begin. Commander Baek Jisoo stepped through the airlock with 6 armed soldiers behind her. She was tall, sharp-faced, and wore the dark blue uniform of Earth Defense Force Intelligence. Her eyes swept the docking bay like she was already planning how to take control of the station. Taman met her at the entrance with Dr. Suman beside him. The children were hidden in the medical bay, but through the bond, he could feel their fear and anger mixing together like a storm. "Captain Lee, Commander." Beck said, not bothering with pleasantries. I am here on direct orders from Earth Command. You are harboring 3 alien subjects that belong in military custody. They are children, Taman replied, not subjects. They are Vorthak, the first live specimens we have ever captured. Do you understand what we could learn from them? How? Many human lives their knowledge could save? Dr. Suman stepped forward. These children have done nothing wrong. They lost their parents and need protection, not experimentation. Commander Bayek's expression hardened. Doctor, with respect, you are a civilian. This is a military matter now. She turned back to Taman. Captain, I know your record. Good soldier. Decorated veteran. Do not throw away your career over 3 aliens. Through the bond, Taman felt Yuki's rage spike. The eldest child was listening somehow, probably through the ventilation system. Her anger was so strong it made his hands shake. My career is not important, Taman said. I gave my word to protect them. Your word to enemy combatants means nothing legally. Commander Bayek gestured to her soldiers. Sergeant Kim, begin search procedures. Find the aliens. Wait, Taman said. Let me talk to them first. They are scared children. If your soldiers go charging in, someone might get hurt. Commander Beck considered this. 5 minutes. But, Captain, do not make this difficult. We will take them one way or another. Taman walked quickly to the medical bay with Dr. Suman. The children were pressed against the far wall, holding each other. Yuki stood in front of the twins, her young face fierce with protective instincts. They want to take us, Yuki said in Vorthak. To study us like laboratory animals. I will not let that happen, Taman replied in the same language. His pronunciation was still rough, but they understood. How? Minho asked. They have guns and soldiers. Taman knelt down to their level. Through the bond, he could feel their trust in him warring with their fear of capture. There is another ship docked on the far side of the station, a merchant vessel. If we can reach it without being seen, we might be able to escape. Jiwon grabbed his hand. Will you come with us? Yes. We stay together. Dr. Suman was already gathering supplies into a medical bag. The merchant captain is Onari. She has a reputation for asking few questions if the price is right. Can we trust her? Taman asked. More than we can trust Earth Defense Force. Heavy footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. Commander Bayek was getting impatient. There is a maintenance tunnel that leads to Docking Bay 7, Dr. Suman whispered. It connects through the old mining shaft access. Taman opened the emergency medical kit and pulled out 3 environment suits sized for children. Put these on quickly. The Vorthak children moved with surprising coordination, helping each other with the unfamiliar human equipment. Through the bond, Taman felt their fear transform into determination. They had learned to trust him completely. Captain Lee, Commander. Bayek's voice came through the door speaker. Time is up! Coming! Taman called back. He turned to Dr. Suman. Go with them! I will delay the soldiers as long as possible. What about you? Yuki asked, her voice tight with worry. I will catch up. The bond connects us, remember? I can find you anywhere on the station. Dr. Suman led the children to the maintenance hatch while Taman stepped outside to face Commander Beck. Where are they? She demanded. Sleeping. They had nightmares about their parents dying. I thought you might want to approach this more carefully. Commander Beck's eyes narrowed. Captain, I am losing patience. Stand aside. She pushed past him into the medical bay. The beds were empty, sheets still warm. Her soldiers immediately began searching every corner, every cabinet. Where are they? Commander Bayek's voice was dangerous now. I do not know what you mean. Through the bond, Taman felt the children moving through the maintenance tunnel. They were scared but moving fast. Dr. Suman was with them, guiding them toward the merchant ship. "Sergeant, seal the station. No ships leave without authorization." Commander Bayek grabbed Taman by the arm. "Captain, you are under arrest for obstruction of military operations." "On what authority?" "This is a civilian mining station." "Emergency powers." "The aliens are considered a security threat." Alarms started ringing throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the corridors as the lockdown began. Through the bond, Taman felt the children's panic spike. But then, he felt something else. Yuki was thinking, planning. Her mind worked differently than human children, faster and more tactical. She was figuring out the station's security systems. "Sir," one of the soldiers reported to Commander Bayek, "the station's computer system is acting strange. Security doors are opening and closing randomly." Taman hid his surprise. Somehow Yuki was manipulating the station's electronics. The twins must be helping her, using their natural understanding of technology. "Find them," Commander Beck ordered. "Use thermal scanners if necessary." The soldiers spread out through the station, but every time they got close to the children's location, doors would malfunction or lights would fail. The young Vorthaks were using the station itself to hide. Through the bond, Taman felt them reach Docking Bay 7. Dr. Suman was negotiating with Captain Onari while the children waited in the shadows. "Deal," he heard Onari say through the station's communication system. "But we leave now, before those military types notice my ship." Commander Bayek heard it too. Her face went pale with anger. "Docking Bay 7, move, move, move." She and her. Soldiers ran through the corridors, but the children had already learned to stay ahead of them. Doors sealed in their path while others opened to create escape routes. Taman felt the moment when the children boarded Onari's ship. Relief flooded through the bond, mixed with guilt at leaving him behind. "Guardian," Yuki's voice came through his personal communicator. "We are safe, thank you." "Go," he whispered back. "I will find you." Captain Onari's ship detached from the station just as Commander Bayek's soldiers reached the docking bay. They could only watch as the merchant vessel engaged its faster-than-light drive and disappeared. "You helped them escape," Commander Bayek said, her voice cold with fury. "I did not do anything," Taman replied. "Maybe they are smarter than you expected." Through the bond, even across the growing distance of space, he could feel the children. They were scared, but alive. Free. Commander Bayek studied his face carefully. "This is not over, Captain. Those aliens are dangerous, and you just helped them. Loose on the galaxy. They are children who lost their parents. If that makes them dangerous, then maybe we are the ones with the problem." She left with her soldiers, but Taman knew she was right about one thing. This was not over. Earth Defense Force would not give up easily, and somewhere in Vorthak space, there were others who wanted the children dead or captured. But for now, they were free. And as long as the bond connected them, they were family. Miles away in space, aboard Onari's ship, 3 young Vorthaks were learning that sometimes family meant being willing to run across the galaxy together. The real adventure was just beginning. Haven's Rest was unlike any place the children had ever seen. The planet was a patchwork of different environments, each section designed for a different alien species. Crystal spires rose from silver lakes, where the aquatic Dalari lived. Dense forests housed the tree-dwelling Keth. Underground cities sheltered the rock-eating Morgan. Captain Onari's ship landed at the main spaceport, a massive structure that hummed with activity from dozens of species. Taman had caught up with them 3 days earlier when Onari stopped for fuel at a smuggler's depot. The reunion through the bond had been overwhelming, relief and joy flowing between him and the children like a warm wave. "Stay close," Taman said as they walked through the crowded terminal. "And try not to stare." But it was impossible not to stare. Minho and Jiwon had never seen so many different types of beings in one place. Their eyes were wide with wonder as they watched a floating gas cloud creature drift past a group of insect-like traders. Yuki walked with more confidence, but Taemin could feel her amazement through the bond. "How do they all live together without fighting?" she asked. "That is what we are here to learn," Taemin replied. Elder Kim Hosik met them at the immigration desk. He was an old human with kind eyes and silver hair, wearing simple brown robes. Beside him stood Dr. Cho Hyejin, a woman, with gentle features and the calm manner of someone used to working with frightened beings. "Welcome to Haven's Rest," Elder Kim said in perfect Vorthak, surprising the children. "I have heard much about your journey." Yuki stepped protectively in front of the twins. "What do you want with us?" "Nothing but to offer you a safe place to grow up," Elder Kim replied. "Here, all species are welcome as long as they follow our simple rule. Harm none who mean no harm." Dr. Cho knelt down to the children's level. "I study how different species learn to live together. Would you like to see how other young beings spend their days here?" The twins looked to Yuki, who looked to Taemin. Through the bond, he felt their curiosity fighting with their caution. "It is safe," he assured them. Elder Kim has protected refugees for 30 years. Their new home was a cluster of connected buildings near a lake that changed colors with the time of day. The architecture, adapted to their needs, with spaces sized for Vorthak children and furniture that could adjust to different body types. "The buildings learn," Dr. Cho explained as the walls shifted slightly to better accommodate their height. "They sense what each resident needs and adapt." The first few days were quiet. The children stayed close to Taemin, overwhelmed by the variety of life around them. But gradually, their natural curiosity began to overcome their fear. Ji-won was the first to make a friend. She met Pip, a young Dalari who lived in the lake but could visit land for short periods using a water suit. Pip was fascinated by Vorthak's strength, while Ji-won was amazed by how Pip could change the color of her skin to match her emotions. "She is sad," Ji-won told Taemin after their first meeting. "Her family died in a war, too." "How can you tell?" "Her colors. When she is happy, she glows blue. When she remembers her family, she turns gray." Minho found his place in the technology workshops where young beings from different species worked together to solve problems. His intuitive understanding of machines impressed even the adult engineers. "Your son has a gift," said Kral, an elderly Morgan whose rock-like skin was covered in tool scars. "He sees patterns in technology that most adults miss." "He is not my son by birth," Taemin explained. "But yes, he is gifted." "Birth matters less than bonds," Kral replied with what might have been a smile. "The Morgan have a saying, family is forged, not born." Yuki took longer to adapt. She was used to being the strongest, the fastest, the smartest in any group. Here she met young beings who could fly, or read minds, or manipulate matter with their thoughts. For the first time, she was not exceptional. "I do not understand my place here," she confided to Taemin one evening as they watched the sunset paint the lake in brilliant colors. "Maybe that is the point," he replied. "Maybe you get to decide what your place should be instead of having it decided for you." Dr. Cho worked with all 3 children, helping them understand their unique situation. "You are the first Vorthaks to grow up without the hardening," she explained. "Your brains are developing differently because of your bond with Captain Taemin. Are we broken?" Minho asked. "No, you are evolved. You kept the best parts of being Vorthak while gaining something new, the ability to truly connect with other species." She showed them brain scans that proved what they could all feel. The bond with Taemin had changed their neural pathways, making them more empathetic while keeping their natural intelligence and physical abilities. "This is why some Vorthaks fear you," Dr. Cho continued. "You represent change, evolution, the possibility that their species could become something different. The revelation came during their third week on Haven's Rest. Yuki was playing a strategy game with a group of multi-species children when she suddenly stopped mid-move. "Ships," she said, her voice tight with fear. "Many ships, coming fast." Through the bond, Taman felt her terror spike. He ran to the nearest observation deck and looked up at the sky. Dark shapes were dropping out of faster-than-light travel, filling the space above Haven's Rest. Elder Kim's voice echoed through the settlement's communication system. "All residents to shelters. We have unwelcome visitors." The Vorthak fleet was massive, 50 ships of various sizes. Leading them was a dreadnought that dwarfed everything else, its hull covered in the ceremonial scars of countless victories. "Admiral Grexton," Elder Kim said grimly when Taman found him in the command center. "The most feared military leader in Vorthak space." "What does he want?" "The same thing your Earth Defense Force wants. The children." A communication signal came through from the flagship. The face that appeared on the screen was terrifyingly familiar to the children. It was like seeing their father, but twisted by cruelty and ambition. "I am Admiral Grexton of the Vorthak Empire," the alien said, his voice carrying absolute authority. "You harbor abominations that belong to us. Surrender them for proper correction or watch your pathetic sanctuary burn." Elder Kim stepped forward calmly. "Admiral, this is neutral space. You have no authority here." "I have the authority of strength. You have 1 hour to deliver the corrupted offspring to us." The transmission ended. In the silence that followed, Taman heard running footsteps. The children burst into the command center, their faces pale with fear. "Uncle," Yuki whispered in Vorthak. "He found us." Through the bond, Taman felt their terror. But underneath it, he sensed something else. Anger, determination. These children had found peace and friendship for the first time in their lives. They were not going to give it up without a fight. "What do we do?" Jiwon asked, taking her sister's hand. Taman looked at Elder Kim, who was studying the tactical display showing the overwhelming Vorthak force above them. "We protect our family," Taman said. "All of it." Because Haven's Rest was not just a sanctuary anymore. It was home. And home was worth fighting for. The hour was ticking away, and the real test of everything they had built together was about to begin. The hour passed too quickly. Admiral Grexton's deadline came and went without response from Haven's Rest. The Vorthak fleet began moving into attack formation, their weapons charging with deadly light. Then something unexpected happened. 3 human ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. They were sleek military vessels moving fast toward the planet. "More trouble," Elder Kim said, watching the tactical display. But Taman recognized the lead ship's design. "That is General Shin Dongho's flagship. He was my commanding officer during the war." The general's face appeared on the communication screen moments later. He was older than Taman remembered, with gray hair and tired eyes, but still carried himself like a soldier. "Captain Lee," General Shin said, "you have caused quite a stir back on Earth." "General, this is not a good time for a reunion." "I am here to help. Earth Command sent me to negotiate for the children's return. We can protect them better than this civilian colony." Through the bond, Taman felt the children's alarm. They pressed closer to him. Yuki, putting herself between the twins and the communication screen. "Protect them by studying them in a laboratory," Taman asked. "By understanding what they represent. Captain, these children could change everything. The bond you share with them proves that our species can work together. But they need proper training, proper protection." Admiral Grexthan's voice cut through the conversation like a blade. "Humans, you dare interfere in Vorthak family matters?" "These children are under human protection," General Shin replied calmly. They are refugees seeking asylum. They are corrupted offspring who must be cleansed of their taint. Stand aside or be destroyed. With the rest of this pathetic world, the tension in the command center was thick enough to cut. 3 military forces faced each other above a peaceful planet full of innocent beings. Any wrong move could start a war. Then Yuki stepped forward. "I challenge you," she said in perfect Vorthak, her young voice carrying across the communication channel to Admiral Grexthon. Everyone stared at her. She was barely 13 years old in human terms, facing the most feared military commander in Vorthak space. Admiral Grexthon's laugh was cold and cruel. "A corrupted child wishes to challenge me? You are not even properly hardened. I am Yuki, daughter of Warlord Kethvar, bearer of the ancient bloodline," she replied with dignity beyond her years. "By the old laws, I have the right to trial by combat for my family's freedom." The Admiral's expression changed. Ancient Vorthak law was sacred even to him. The old laws apply only to true Vorthaks. You are tainted by human weakness. "Then prove it," Yuki said. "Face my guardian in combat. If he wins, we go free. If you win, you can have us." Taemin felt his heart stop. Through the bond, he sensed Yuki's plan. She believed in him completely, trusted his strength and the bond they shared. "No," he said quietly. "I will not let you risk your life on my ability to fight." "It is not just your ability," she replied, speaking in human language so the others could understand. "It is our bond, our family. That makes us strong." Admiral Grexthon considered the challenge. "Very well, but I choose the terms. Single combat. No weapons, on neutral ground. When I kill your human guardian, the bond will break, and you will become proper Vorthaks again." "And if I win?" Taemin asked. "Impossible. But if somehow you do, we will leave and never pursue the children again." Elder Kim opened a communication channel to both fleets. "The challenge is witnessed by Haven's Rest as neutral ground. Combat will take place in the Great Arena in 1 hour." As the various ships landed their representatives, Dr. Cho pulled Taemin aside. "Captain, Admiral Grexthon is a proven warrior. He has killed dozens of opponents in single combat." "I know the odds," Taemin replied, "but those children trust me to protect them. I cannot let them down." The arena was an ancient structure, used for ceremonies and competitions between species. Representatives from dozens of alien civilizations filled the stands, come to witness this unprecedented challenge. Admiral Grexthon stood across from Taemin in the center of the arena. He was massive even for a Vorthak, his body covered in the scars of countless battles. His natural armor plates gleamed in the artificial light. "You should have stayed in human space, Captain," the Admiral said as they circled each other. "Your species is weak. You fight with machines because you cannot fight with honor." Taemin said nothing. Through the bond, he felt the children in the stands above. Their love and trust flowed into him like strength. The Admiral attacked first, moving with shocking speed for his size. His claws swept toward Taemin's throat, but the human rolled aside. The bond let him sense the children's tactical knowledge, Yuki's understanding of Vorthak combat flowing through their connection. They fought for long minutes, the Admiral's raw power against Taemin's speed and the tactical insights he gained through the bond. When the Admiral's claws raked across his shoulder, Taemin felt the children's pain as his own. When he landed a solid hit on the Admiral's ribs, their joy gave him strength to continue. But Admiral Grexthon was too strong, too experienced. Gradually, Taemin began to lose ground. Blood flowed from several wounds and his breathing grew labored. "You fight well for a human," the Admiral admitted as he pressed his attack. "But you are still just one weak being against Vorthak might." That was when Taemin smiled. "You are wrong," he said, dodging another strike. I am not just one being. I am part of a family. Through the bond, he felt the children's love, their determination, their absolute faith in him. But more than that, he felt their strength flowing into him, their Vorthak abilities enhancing his human skills. When Admiral Grexton lunged for a killing blow, Taman moved with speed that no human should possess. The bond had made him something new, something more than either human or Vorthak alone. His counterattack caught the Admiral completely off guard. A precise strike to the nerve center in the Admiral's neck sent the massive warrior crashing to the arena floor, unconscious but alive. Silence filled the arena. Then slowly, beings from dozens of species began to cheer. They had witnessed something new, proof that different species could become stronger together than apart. Admiral Grexton awoke to find Taman standing over him. "The challenge is ended," Taman said. "Honor your word." The Admiral looked up at the stands where the three children sat with their friends from different worlds. For the first time, he seemed to see them not as corrupted offspring, but as something unprecedented. "Perhaps," he said quietly, "evolution is not always corruption." He stood slowly, his pride wounded, but his honor intact. "The children are yours, human. But know this, they will always be welcome in Vorthak space if they choose to return." As the Vorthak fleet departed, General Shin approached Taman. "Earth Command will not be happy," he said. "They wanted those children for study. Then, they should come here and study how different species can live together in peace," Taman replied. The general smiled. "Maybe they will. You have shown something remarkable here today, Captain. The future might be brighter than any of us imagined." As the crowds dispersed and the arena emptied, Taman found himself surrounded by three young Vorthaks who looked at him with complete adoration. "Thank you," Yuki said simply. Through the bond, he felt their love and gratitude, but also something else: pride. They were proud to be his family, just as he was proud to be theirs. The sun was setting over Havens, rest painting the diverse landscape in warm colors. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight, their family was safe and whole. The Guardian's stand had become something more, a declaration that love could triumph over fear, that family could be chosen rather than born, and that the future belonged to those brave enough to build bridges instead of walls. 5 years had passed since the challenge in the arena. Haven's Rest had grown from a small sanctuary into a thriving city where hundreds of species lived and worked together. At its heart stood the Academy, a school where young beings from across the galaxy learned not just knowledge, but how to understand each other. Yuki stood at the front of a classroom filled with students of 20 different species. She was 18 now, tall and strong like her Vorthak heritage, but with a gentleness in her eyes that no traditional Vorthak possessed. "Today we study the Battle of Kepler Station," she said, gesturing to a holographic display showing the mining station where her story began. "Can anyone tell me why this battle was important?" A young human girl raised her hand. "Because it was the first time a Vorthak family asked for help instead of taking what they wanted?" "Good answer. Anyone else?" A Morgan student, his rocky skin gleaming under the classroom lights, spoke up. "It showed that enemies can become family if they choose to trust each other." Yuki smiled. These children understood something that had taken the galaxy centuries to learn. Trust was not weakness. Cooperation was not surrender. Different species working together were stronger than any single group alone. After class, she walked through the academy halls toward the main assembly, where Taman would be speaking to new arrivals. The bond between them had grown stronger over the years, though it was different now. Less protective parent and frightened child, more like two adults who chose to remain connected. She passed Minho in the engineering lab where he worked with students to design new technologies that helped different species communicate. His latest project was a universal translator that could convert not just words but emotions and concepts between alien minds. Jiwon was in the medical center, using her natural empathy enhanced by the bond to help traumatized refugees recover from their experiences. She had become a healer, able to sense emotional pain as clearly as physical injury. All three siblings had found their place in this new world they had helped create. The main assembly was packed with beings of all kinds. Today marked the 10th anniversary of Haven's Rest as an independent sanctuary world. Representatives from major governments across the galaxy had come to witness something unprecedented, a truly integrated multi-species society. Ambassador Song Miran from Earth stood at the podium, reading from a prepared statement. The human government formally recognizes Haven's Rest as a sovereign world and requests establishment of permanent diplomatic relations. Similar statements came from the Delari Collective, the Morgan Confederation, and dozens of other governments. But the most surprising announcement came at the end. A figure in traditional Vorthak ceremonial armor stepped forward. It was Admiral Grexthan, but he looked different, older, thoughtful, less aggressive. The Vorthak Empire, he said in measured tones, has undergone significant changes in recent years. We have learned that strength comes in many forms. We request permission to establish an embassy here to learn from the example set by these remarkable young beings. The crowd erupted in surprised murmurs. The most feared predator species in the galaxy was asking to learn about cooperation. When the ceremony ended, Taman found himself on a balcony overlooking the city. Below, beings of every description went about their daily lives, working together, playing together, building something new. Proud of what you have accomplished? Admiral Grexthan asked, joining him at the railing. Proud of what we all accomplished, Taman corrected. I just helped it get started. You did more than that. You proved that evolution is possible, even for species like mine. The Admiral was quiet for a moment. Do you know what happened after I returned to Vorthak space? Taman shook his head. I spoke to the Council about what I saw here. Many young Vorthaks began asking questions about the old ways. Some refused to undergo the hardening. There has been resistance to change, but also acceptance from some quarters. Change is never easy. No, but it is necessary. Admiral Grexthan watched as Yuki led a group of mixed-species children through the plaza below. Those three have become something new. Not fully Vorthok, not fully human, but something better than either. They are what they choose to be, Taman said. That is the most human thing about them. That evening, the family gathered in their home overlooking the lake. It was larger now, designed to accommodate not just the original four, but the friends and colleagues who had become part of their extended family. Dr. Suman was there, still studying the bond that had started everything. Dr. Cho was discussing her latest research on interspecies development. Captain Onari had retired from smuggling to become the head of Haven's Rest Security. I have something to announce, Yuki said when everyone had gathered around the dinner table. The Galactic Council has officially invited me to serve as the first interspecies mediator. The table erupted in congratulations. Through the bond, Taman felt her excitement mixed with nervousness. What does that mean exactly? Minho asked. When conflicts arise between species, I would help them find peaceful solutions. Use what we learned here to help others work together. Will you accept? Taman asked. Yuki looked around the table at all the faces that had become her family. Only if you all come with me. We started this together. We should continue it together. Jiwon reached across the table to take her sister's hand. Where you go, we go. Minho nodded his agreement. The bond connects us, no matter how far apart. We are. Taman felt a warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with the psychic connection. Then we will go together. Later that night, after the guests had gone home, Taman sat with the three young adults who had become his children in every way that mattered. They were planning their future, discussing which conflicts they might help resolve, which species they might bring together. "Do you ever wonder what your parents would think of who you became?" Taman asked. Yuki considered the question seriously. "I think they would be proud. We kept the best parts of being Vorthak while becoming something new. We are strong, but we use that strength to protect rather than conquer. We have honor," Minyo added. "But our honor includes caring for those who are different from us." "We remember what they taught us," Jiwan said quietly. "Family is everything. But we learned that family can be bigger than blood." Through the bond, Taman felt their love, their determination, their hope for the future. These three had lost their birth parents, but gained something remarkable: the chance to help reshape the galaxy. The next morning brought news that would test everything they had built. A new species had been discovered at the edge of known space. They were aggressive, xenophobic, and had already destroyed 2 research vessels that tried to make contact. "The Galactic Council is requesting our help," Ambassador Song reported, over the communication link. "You 4 are the most successful example of interspecies cooperation in recorded history." Yuki looked at her family, her chosen siblings, the human who had risked everything to protect them. Through the bond, she felt their unity, their shared purpose. "We will go," she said. "Someone needs to show them that different does not mean enemy." As their ship prepared to depart Haven's Rest, Taman watched the planet grow smaller through the viewport. They had built something beautiful there, proof that the galaxy's future could be brighter than its past. But now it was time to take that lesson to others who needed it. "Ready?" he asked his children. "Ready," they replied as one. The stars awaited, full of species who had not yet learned that cooperation was stronger than conquest, that family could transcend biology, that love could bridge any gap. The predators had evolved. Now it was time to help the rest of the galaxy evolve with them. Their greatest adventure was just beginning.